Do you have other comments?
Just a few, Mr. Chairman. First, I would associate myself with everything that you just said and the other members of the committee. I think you hear great frustration and a great deal of concern about the message that has been sent to China. General, as I look through publicly available sources at the flight of this balloon and the bases and sensitive military sites that it passed over, its flight pattern clearly is not accidental. Would you agree with that?
Ma'am, I honestly, I do have some thoughts on that will be in the next session. But you're right. The flight path took it over areas that we would think were concerning, and we are pretty certain we mitigated those, and we'll discuss that in the next session.
Okay, I look forward to hearing the specifics on that. I want to go back to Senator Murkowski's point about Alaska. The U.S. airspace over and around Alaska is known as the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone. It is a huge swath of airspace that includes the airspace over territorial waters, military training ranges, and very sparsely populated areas. And that is why it is so hard for us to understand why the balloon wasn't taken out over Alaska. It's sparsely populated. There are territorial waters. It's a huge defense identification zone. It has bases. It has sensitive aircraft. It has military equipment that is of great interest to the Chinese for the exact reasons that Senator Murkowski said. And yet, the statement was made that when the balloon was over Alaska, it did not show evidence of hostile intent. Help me understand that. Why was it there?
Ma'am, while it was in Alaska, we were characterizing the balloon. I would tell you, one of the things I think that's very different from our country and you can look at historical examples, is we think before we shoot. And in this case, we thought before we shot. And again, we'll talk more about it in other sessions. I think that is something that, as someone who flies around, and Admiral Joyner certainly more than I, that we would appreciate of the rest of the world, that they would think before they shoot. Once you shoot, you can't take it back. Ma'am, I'll be quite honest. As an American, I understand the impact and the unsettling feeling that's here. As someone in the military who sees the other side of that, I am very confident in the authorities that were granted to the NORAD NORTHCOM commander to make decisions here, that the decisions he made were in the best interests of the United States and our citizens, as were the decisions of our senior leadership, and we'll present more of that conversation in the next session.
I'm not implying that we want to be anything like the Chinese government in asking this question. But do you think if we had an American surveillance balloon going over sensitive Chinese military sites, that the Chinese government would have for a minute hesitated before taking it down?
Ma'am, I'll not answer on behalf of the Chinese, but I think as an American, if I was flying in that direction, I would hope that they would think before they made a decision.
Well, I got to tell you, I would think they would not hesitate if we violated their territorial airspace to disable and take down our surveillance platform. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.